out. This is the history of Isla orthographies, Hein, Vink, part 1, where we're going to take a look at the first ever standard writing system that was developed by a linguist for the Isla language. So I'm going to open up a document and walk you through this. So Hein Vink developed his first Isla orthography sometime in the mid-1970s. And we see his first orthography, which is classified as 1A, in a first course in Isla, which he created in 1974. This is a course that was focused on the individual sounds in the language. So each lesson is based around one of the sounds of the language, and it is incomplete. I estimate there's about 18 lessons missing. There's 35 lessons altogether, and there's more than 35 sounds in the Isla language. So by my estimation, there's about 18 lessons missing from this first course in Isla. But this is where we see the first ever official linguistic spelling of Isla words. So here are some characteristics of HV1A. There are no accent markers. So there's not any way of telling by reading the words where you place stress in a word. So for example, in baba'o, without any accent markers, you can't really tell if it's baba'o or baba'o or baba'o. So there were no accent markers used in Hein Vink's first orthography. There are also no apostrophes in front of word initial vowels. So this is something that changed over time, is that's one of the rules of writing Isla nowadays is Isla words do not start with vowels. If there's a vowel at the beginning of a word, you will see an apostrophe in front of it. So there are reasons for that. But with Hein Vink's 1A orthography, there were no apostrophes in front of vowels that began words. So the next characteristic is this A with 2 dots over it. This is called, the symbol on top of the A is called an umlaut. So I call this umlaut A. And this makes an eh sound. So this is the representation now that we use. AI says eh in the hybrid orthography. The umlaut A said eh. It's exactly the same sound, just 2 different ways of representing it. So both of these symbolize the sound eh. Another characteristic is that he used a V to represent a small raised W, which is characteristic of rounded consonants. So like G and a small raised W is gwa, and that's in the hybrid orthography. Hein Vink represented this by using a G followed by a V. That would also say gwa. And something that was a little bit confusing is that the letter W would sometimes mean a U. So you can see in brackets here I put sometimes. So sometimes it would say U, it would stand in for a U. Sometimes it was just a regular W. So it kind of alternated depending on the word. So that's something that can be a little bit confusing if you're not used to it. When it comes to what we call lateral sounds in the Isla language, Hein Vink used pairs of consonants to represent the single sounds. So he used an LH to represent what is now symbolized by the tilde L. This is the sound. So when you see LH in Hein Vink's orthographies, you think he used a DH to represent what is now represented by the lambda symbol. This is a DL sound, dl, dl. He used a TH to represent what is now represented by the barred lambda symbol, tl. It's more of a TL sound, tl. And he used an apostrophe TH to represent an ejective barred lambda, which is what we see in the hybrid orthography now, and it sounds like. So one of the issues here is that TH can be mistaken for the English TH, like in this or that or think. So that can be an issue that might lead to confusion. But this is the first orthography, or 1A, of Hein Vink's orthography. And then he used an apostrophe as a glottal stop. And he did this in lesson 35. I don't remember it actually appearing in any other lesson because he used words that usually started with the letter or the symbol. So he used a glottal stop in lesson 35 to start words. There's also 1B. This is an advanced course in Isla in 1975. There's no date on this document, so we can only guess as to when it was created. But it obviously came after the first course in Isla because it's an advanced course. So this is essentially the same as HV1A, but with the addition of acute accents, and they appear to be drawn in. So acute accents tell you where to place emphasis in a word. So in 1A, there are no accent markers to show stress. In 1B, he uses acute accents. And they appear to be drawn in. You have to remember, around this time, approximately 1975, personal computers were not really a thing. They were not commonly used or available. That didn't come until maybe about a decade later, and even then they were still primitive by today's standards. So you have to remember that back in these times, in order to type, you had to use a typewriter. So I'm not sure if he probably didn't have any way of actually typing acute accents. So that's why I think he typed his document and then drew in the accents later on. And then he used a glottal stop as well. So a glottal stop is basically a stoppage of air. It can appear in the middle of a word. It can also, well, it appears at, technically it appears at the beginning of every word, because every word basically starts from nothing. But yeah, so he used this kind of apostrophe as a glottal stop in his first, or his 1B orthography. So here's a look at the two orthographies in action. So he has this first one, he has an N followed by an umlaut A. So he has the A with the two dots over it. And this is how it's spelled now in the hybrid orthography, and it's pronounced ne. Ne. And this means snow. It refers specifically to snow on the ground. So ne means snow on the ground. Any. You can see it doesn't start with an apostrophe in front of the A, the vowel. Now, the hybrid spelling, you have an apostrophe and then an E instead of an A. And then we have AI instead of the umlaut A. And any means eyebrow. That's one single eyebrow. And we have ame. Ame. This is how it's spelled in the hybrid orthography, and it means small. Next we have Hede Gyada. So you can see he spelled H-A-Y. Now it's condensed down to HI. So that says hey, and then de, hey de, giada. So you notice that the hybrid orthography makes use of these small dashes on top of certain vowels. So this tells us where to place emphasis. These are stress markers or accent markers. And Hein Vink 1a does not have any kind of accent markers. So hey de giada means here it is, or it is here, close to me. Next we have det. Det. He sometimes used a T instead of a D. He would switch up certain sounds in certain situations, but nowadays we spell dead with two D's instead of a D at the front and a T at the back. So dead means to give. It's exactly like the English word dead. Dead. And then we have mixame. Mixame. And there's the Hein Vink spelling with the umlaut A, and then the hybrid spelling with the AI. And mixame means to beat on a drum. So those are some examples of Hein Vink 1a, his first orthography. And then 1b comes from an advanced course in Isla, so you have escuelas. So you notice he uses the umlaut A for the E sound, and he also uses this slanted dash for an accent marker. And this is actually, this was kind of difficult to figure out how to type. When you start stacking these symbols, it gets a little tricky. So this is one of the reasons why the hybrid orthography is so effective, is that there's no stacking of what we call diacritics. So diacritics are like the accent marker here, the acute accent, or this line over the G, or this small raised W. These are modifiers. They take a regular letter like a G and modify them in some way. Or they take an A and tell you to place emphasis on that A or this AI. And you notice here he has a V for gua, and now it's replaced by the small raised W, gua. So escuelas means goodbye. Then we have giesla. Giesla. So the HV1B spelling has the umlaut A, as opposed to the hybrid spelling, which actually is a regular E sound, which is more like ah. So this is giesla. Giesla, which means to put down an object. And the last example here, this is menesut. Menesut. So that's Hein Vink 1b, and this is the hybrid spelling. You notice there's an M, or glottalized M, followed directly by an N, whereas now it's broken up with a schwa or an E in between them. Menesut, and this means sibling of the same gender. So I'll show you the actual documents here. So this is Hein Vink's first course in Isla. His first word here, this is exercise 2. It focuses on the letter E, and the first word is sums. Sums. And this is mouth. Dumks is salt. Duwent is name. Wasum is heart. So this is what I was talking about before. He uses a W here to represent the letter U. So this is duwent. Duwent. Do. And then he uses a regular W here for wasum. So that's a little bit confusing. You have yaden, which is a rattle or horsetail plant. Danas, the inside bark of cedar. Sapala, any reflection of light. So again, you have two consonants right beside each other. In the Hayward spelling, there would be an E in between this P and the L. Sapla. So it's not sapla, it's sapla. So you have to know that when you're reading Hein Vink, that there's actually a sound in between the P and the L. This is gila, the crawling of a baby. Misala, to wish, long, desire. Wagilsala is a creek, and kinkim is a martin. So that is 1A that appears in Hein Vink's first course in Heisla. This is 1B, which appears in an advanced course in Heisla. So this is exercise 3. Again, focusing on the letter A or letter E. So again, you have sums, mouth, tsa, to push. So now you see, if I zoom in more, he has an E in between the T and the S. He might not have included that before. And then you have an A with the dash, a slanted dash on top. This tells you to place emphasis on the A. So it's not tassa, it's tasa. So now we can tell because there's the acute accent on top of the A. So tasa means to push. Sata means to eat meat. Kissa, to coil a rope. Kita, to shoot with a gun. Wasa, to spin wool. Yissa, to hit somebody with a stick or to ring a bell. And yasagila, an alarm clock. So I'm going to switch back to my webcam here. So that's a look at Hein Vink 1A and 1B. And that is the first part of the history of Heisla orthographies. In the next video, we will take a look at HV2, which is Hein Vink's second orthography. So for now, I will say Anastach Nugutla kan homia ax. Thank you for watching. Wa.